Are you ready for it?
Whoop, whoop. Here I come.
Oh.
Here I come.
Here we go. Episode 3, Leather and Lumber Podcast, presented by Lynx Baseball. Lynx Baseball, sponsored by Marucci. Marucci is the official bat of Major League Baseball. Marucci, honor the game. Great episode for you guys today. Got the whole crew together. Coach Denny Delgado, Coach Jordan Lazowski, Coach Ryan Kelley. What's up, boys? How are we doing today?
Not
Always
too
good.
bad. Excited.
Always a good morning with these gems of human beings right here.
The one in the black hat especially, right?
When do we get them to move to North Carolina? How do we do that?
I tried to get Ryan already. He told me basically go, you know what, kick rocks, pound sand.
That doesn't sound like him.
He used a 4-letter expletive, but started with F. But I can't say that on the podcast.
It is marked
Ryan,
as
no
for
bleep
kids
button.
on YouTube, so
Fair
good call.
is the word.
No bleep button on the podcast, Rock. All right, boys, here we go. Let's jump in. Jordan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the listeners?
Yeah, Jordan Lazowski, 2029, scout team coach. I think I come with the least amount of upper-level baseball experience on the podcast. I'm not shy about that, at least playing-wise. So, played high school ball, middle infield, pitcher, decided against the college baseball route, went to the University of Notre Dame, and worked for the baseball team there in their analytics department. So, led a team of about 30 students who were all putting together some projects of their own interest for the baseball team, but also a couple of us were very focused on specific internal reports, scouting reports for ACC opponents, things like that. So a little bit of everything. That's where I kind of learned TrackMan, Rapsodo, kind of got into truly understanding that there was a lot to offer to the game outside of playing for someone like me, who loved playing, but might love the numbers and the coaching more, which is crazy to say. Started coaching in Chicagoland, Montini Catholic High School back in 2022, maybe. I think 2022. Was an assistant JV coach then. For my first year, in the last 3 years, I've been a co-varsity pitching coach with Mr. Ryan Kelley on the podcast here. So we've done a lot of good things over the past 3 years, and now with the Lynx for the past, this will be my second summer. I was with the academic team. Surprise, surprise. The first summer, I'm coaching the 2029s this summer. So really looking forward to it. Kind of a different crew, and I think there's plenty of opportunity to bring maybe a little bit different approach that I have to the game. And I appreciate those who have given me that opportunity to learn and coach and discover. Like I said, I think I enjoy the coaching side more than I did playing, which is crazy.
I'm kind of with that. Like, I played a little bit in college, but a lot of people ask me, do you miss it right now? And I do, and I've been asked to play like in men's leagues and slow pitch softball, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I get to go to the baseball field a lot of days of my life still, so pretty happy. I'm pretty content not playing anymore. But
yeah, I haven't felt the itch to like play in a men's league or something like that. And again, you asked me that 6-7 years ago, it'd be crazy. Like I'd be dying to do anything to play.
I'll play golf with John Link every day of my life, though. That'll do.
That might do it.
And then the life of the party, as always, for everybody, for you guys that don't know, Coach Ryan Kelley. Right guy, what's up, buddy?
What's up, everybody? Little intro on me. I am the 2027 scout team coach. I also coach at Montini Catholic, like Jordy said, in the Chicago Catholic League. I grew up playing baseball in the west suburbs of Chicago at Wheaton North High School. Ended up going to Augustana College, playing baseball there, throwing javelin for the track team. After college, kind of the opposite is I got back into baseball, played 7 years after college in various leagues around the Chicagoland area. but never coached, right? Lived in Chicago for 10 years, moved out of Chicago when COVID happened, and met Jordy, met all these guys, and kind of like started my coaching career. First started coaching AAU basketball, then started coaching freshman basketball at a high school that's next to where I live and grew up. And then through that was the freshman baseball coach at Montini, then got pushed up to varsity where I'm an assistant now with Jordy. And then through those connections, me and Jordan also coach at NTIS for USA Baseball, in addition to the stuff we do at the high schools and the stuff we do with the scout team. So crazy journey, but I mean, I think that's a baseball story, right? Is everybody kind of gets to a place, not necessarily by the same path, but that's the beauty of baseball for sure.
Yeah, guys. I think let's not underestimate your baseball knowledge or anything. I mean, both you guys are heavily involved with USA Baseball. Both in the Midwest, coaching those NTIS teams. For those of you that don't know, the NTIS is the National Team Identification Series. It's kids from all over the country at 6 different age groups, I think, come into Cary, North Carolina, to basically try out for the national team at USA. And big deal. Dennis coaches there. I coach there. Well, used to coach there. Manny coaches. We have a lot of our guys that are involved with Lynx. They coach over there. Helping those guys at USA out. It's a big deal. Big deal to get involved. Big deal to get invited. And it's a really, I think it's a great thing for your resume going forward, coaching baseball, especially once you decide to move on to bigger and better things. Anything that says USA Baseball is really going to boost your resume for your next gig in the game. We're going to move on right now. We're going to talk about some team stuff. Jordy, I'm going to let you lead it off. Jordan has the 2029 scout team. We're going to go over some schedules. We're going to go over some key returners, right? And then some new additions to the team. Jordy, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, I guess we'll start with the schedule. 5 tournaments. A little bit like I said, a little bit of a different schedule. I was in the on the East Coast. Well, I'm still on the East Coast with all these, but I was more Northeast. So we're changing up a little bit this year for 2029s. We'll start with the Palm Beach Classic for Prospect Select down in West Palm Beach, my personal favorite. June 6th through 11th. WWBA June 21st to the 28th. PBR Mid-Atlantic Championship June 26th. Well, that's definitely wrong. Well, the PBR Mid-Atlantic Championship after that. PBR National Championship in July, and our last tournament, which I think is the same for everybody, the Marucci World Series. So excited to do something a little different. I'm excited to see what that Marucci World Series is all about. I think that'll be really, really cool opportunity to, no offense, get away from the Florida and the Georgia for a little bit and see what's going on down in Baton Rouge. So very, very excited about that one.
Jordy, I think we also added one. I think we added a perfect game to your. I think we took you guys out of WWBA actually and put you in the Perfect Game World Series.
All right.
Late scratch from the boys over here. The timing really didn't work out at WWBA, so I think we put you guys in the World Series instead. So, side note, little schedule update for everybody. All right, Jordy. Let's go to some key returning pieces for you guys.
Yeah, and here's my thing. The schedule, I'll show up when I show up, and I try to get the guys, and this is kind of my mantra, and I'll go on a mini rant, and then I'll get to the guys. I really don't care who we play. I really don't care where we play. Show up. This is a very talented bunch of guys who I'll put out against anybody. Just tell me where I need to be, what time I need to be. I don't care who we're playing. I don't care where we're playing. Those are the things that don't bother me as much. And I think the 2029s, we're starting to get to a point where we feel that way. It's a very, very talented group. Just picking a few returners was not an easy task in preparation for the podcast, for specifically that reason. So maybe my schedule mistake, for lack of a better term, is kind of the mantra of what we're going to do. It's, I don't care who we play, I don't care where we play. We're there to win, and we're there to show how talented this ball club is. So my returning guys, I tried to spread it out across the pitching staff as well as some of the infielders, our catcher as well. I'll start with Robert Biggin Jr. We call him Junior. He is anything but Junior. This is a massive 2029. He was throwing low 80s when I last saw him. I would venture to believe that he is probably past that at this point, even at his age. I'm excited to see him. This is a true workhorse starter. Junior is a very cerebral guy too. Very knowledgeable about it. Pitching, asks good questions, understands the game well. Comes a lot from his father, I think, who has a lot of pitching experience himself, to put it lightly. So I expect big things out of him this year. The big thing is many kids at this age. How's his health? Is he healthy? Is he moving good? I know that sky's the limit for Junior, and he will be our ace for the next 4 years of this. I'm very much looking forward to see his progression. This is not too far from being a 90-mile-an-hour arm, which is crazy to say about a 2029. That being said, he deserves those sort of accolades, and I think it's a good challenge for him to continue to grow, because some of us are 5'9" and don't have the talent that he does. And I hope he continues to push himself, and I know he will continue to push himself. My second guy, Dane Miyashiro, IMG Academy kid. One of those kids when you first get a team and you're trying to experiment, move guys around, figure out where everyone plays. Dane's the type of guy you see one game at shortstop, you leave him there, and you don't really touch that one. Awesome with the bat as well. Switch hitter, switch hitter who hits well from both sides of the plate. We'll hit towards the top of our lineup. We'll play shortstop, and I really probably won't move him that much.
Dare I say he's the best player on the field at all times?
Yes, that is a guy who, and I mean, unless he's grown a little bit, I haven't seen him a little bit. Like, not an imposing player at first until you put a bat in his hand or put a glove on his hand. Just an incredible athlete, and yeah, like you said, just he's going to be one of the top, if not the top athlete on every team he's going to play for, whether it's Lynx, whether it's IMG, whether it's well beyond us.
That's Cole's brother, right, John?
Yeah. Yep. Cole's is Cole's Dane's older brother, so that runs in the family.
So very excited for him. Very excited to see what he does this year. My last guy, Chase Kafis. This is a kid I decided to call him out because when I first met Chase was at a scout day or 2 years ago, I think at this point, and I saw down there. I wasn't the coach of this team yet, but like Chase Kafis catcher, like I remember him as this little kid. I'm like, there is no way this kid's a catcher. And you see him do pop times and stuff. I'm like, I could see it, but I just too undersized. Then he comes out this year during the fall for the 2029s when I first coached these guys. Absolutely did everything he could to prove me wrong about that. And then some. True leader behind the plate, true leader on the field in general. Has the ability to go play the outfield, play second base in a pinch if you really needed him to. Just overall, really, really good kid. And I'm excited for his continued development and also his bat. I think his bat has been more than advertised. I think this is a kid who you can tell clearly is working at everything. And I'm excited to see kind of what he does this year as well.
Nice. All right. Well, give me some newcomers that you're excited about joining this group.
Yeah, a couple newcomers. We've got Anthony Black, who's going to be a catcher for us. Between Chase and Anthony, I couldn't feel better about the catching position for us. I think either way you flip it, those are two guys who are impressive. Anthony, I got to see during our last scout day. Very, very built individual. Very projectable is a word you'll use with the 2029s a lot. Quick behind the plate, very smart kid, glued with the guys right away. And I'm very excited about that as well. And Mason is our other guy. Another newcomer, left-handed bat, left-handed arm, first baseman, outfielder. Mason's going to be able to do a little bit of it all. And like I said, I'm excited to see his development as well. True strike thrower kind of adds to that mix of guys who just come in, understand the game, very cerebral, like thinking through the game, but like being challenged at the same time. Mason fits that mold perfectly. I'm excited to have him on the crew as well.
Yeah, that's gonna be a pretty loaded 2029 team. We're still going. We still got 2 players to grab. We got our guy in the Southwest, Gary Mendoza, working on that. We got our eyes on a couple guys, so we're going to try to add 2 players to that team for the summer. Get you another arm, maybe another utility guy that can do a little bit of everything. That's what we're going to go for. But moving on, we're going to go to the 28 group. Dennis, you have the 28 group, although you are not their head coach. What do we have as far as a schedule for the 28s?
Yeah, first, a little shout out to their coaches, Noah Borntrager and Jalen Colton. Both actually Millbrook guys like myself. Kind of like all these guys on this podcast and across our board. Like, that's 2 really, really good coaches in a dugout for a team that young. They could both easily have a top rising senior team or something like that, but they're with the second youngest group. Just a wealth of knowledge. Coach Borntrager, I think, will have his own program one day, probably coach in college if he wants to. And Coach Colton could be, the same. But yeah, 2 of my best friends as well. So quick shout out to them. Schedule wise, pretty much the same as the 29s. We will have a little spring training here in Raleigh in May for those that can make it. And then season starts in West Palm Beach in June for the Palm Beach Classic. Coach Kelly's least favorite time of the year, from what I can remember. Moving on to Atlanta PBR National Championship, and then Richmond, Virginia Mid-Atlantic Championship late June. So 3 tournaments in June for them. Then they go to BCS early July in Fort Myers, and then the Marucci World Series in Baton Rouge, and then WWBA, I guess, depending on the timing, right, of Baton Rouge.
Yeah, depending on how many guys are in Baton Rouge at that point, what kind of competition that we can get them down there. One thing for everyone listening, our Marucci scout teams, right? The way that we do our schedules, we try to play in the biggest events and find our guys the best competition to play at all times. So, you'll see the consistency in a lot of our schedules. We play a lot of PBR events, play a lot of prospect select events, especially in Florida. We find that those events carry the best competition for our players and the best exposure as far as college coaches goes for our older guys. The younger guys, the 28s and 29s, we're worried about competition. We're worried about getting them used to the travel, to playing in these big yards and these big ballparks around a bunch of people. And then that way, when they go and it's time for them to get recruited, they've already done this. They've already been through travel. They understand what it's like to stay in hotels, to play 1 game a day. They understand what it's like to play on some really big baseball fields, right? And that's what this is about. So that's kind of how we build our schedule out. Dennis, give me some top returners for this team.
Yeah, I got 3. These guys I actually know pretty well myself. They're all local guys because this team really started out, and it still is, heavily North Carolina heavy. I think that will stay that way because they're so good, but we'll start to add some nationwide pieces if they become available and the need is there for them. But the first one is Thomas Piskoric. His dad was mentioned on the last podcast. Just a really, really, really talented player overall. High in all the rankings, PBR, PG, all that stuff that you see on Twitter and stuff these days, but he has the game to back it up for sure. I mean, watching him take ground balls, just even on a fungo and a practice is really special. He's got a already really big and strong body for a freshman, but I think there's room to add to that. And from what I've heard from Coach Noah and Coach Colton, that he just hits as well all the time. Pretty sure he's on varsity over at Wakefield.
He's a starting shortstop over at Wakefield, second on the team in batting average, hitting .385.
Yeah, and that's as a freshman in the biggest division in North Carolina and what I consider to be a relatively tough conference, as I coach in that conference as well. So that's Thomas Piskoric. I think he's a big name for the next few years. Right behind him is Mikey Katz. I have known Mikey since he was 7, I believe. I was actually still playing. Rob, his dad, would come to some of my practices when I was still playing and bring Mikey, and then Mikey had his own team and things like that. But Mikey is the prototypical just professional catcher. If this was 10 years ago, he would never get a pitch from the dugout. He could call his own game. Things are a little different now with pitch comm and stuff like that, but just commands
Go route, Dennis. Go route.
Go route, yeah. He commands a game behind the plate. I mean, receiving, blocking, all that stuff. It's extremely high level. Really nice swing too. Takes after his brother quite a bit, Chris Katz. I don't want to pin that on him too much, but you can see similarities in the swing there. Brother plays in the ACC at Wake Forest. Just a good baseball family too, and the knowledge of the game is there. And another kid who's freshman, probably 14, 15 years old, starting on varsity in 4A in North Carolina. And that won't change for 4 years with Mikey. So I don't know if you have anything to add there, John.
It's two pretty good building blocks for Coach Jock over at Wakefield.
Yeah.
2 staples for him for the next 4 years for sure.
Yeah, last returner is Troy Haynes. I actually met Troy this past last baseball season at a couple just kind of optional practices that we had actually at Millbrook. Showed up, took BP, hit a ball off the scoreboard, and a ball off the wall. And I was getting really excited because I thought maybe he'd be on Coach Ryan's team or Coach John's team. And they're like, no, he's in 8th grade right now. And I just could not believe it. And then they're like, well, the best part is he's up to 83, 84 on the mound. And I go, okay. And then cut to a year later, he's up to 88, just big, lanky, again, super strong body already with a lot to add, I would believe. Plays varsity at Green Hope High School.
Yeah.
He, and again, in the biggest classification in North Carolina, they play some really tough teams in their conference. And I'm assuming he's their ace. Probably will continue to hit for a while, but I think his highest ceiling is on the mound. But that is a huge get for that team. I mean, you got a freshman up to 88. Like that plays no matter where. But I'm really excited to see what he does too. Like I said, I think a lot can be added to that body despite it being so good already. And I think he's up to 90, 92 real soon.
Yeah, those are three pretty good ones for that 28 scout team. Let's talk about some additions, some things that Coach Beltran and Coach Piskoric and myself did, over the winter. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I got 2. These are directly from Coach Borntrager. Looks like it's a set of twins. So I have Brian Ebling, right-handed pitcher, infielder. Comments from Coach No. He says live arm on the mound with good command of off-speed pitches. Says he's a really smooth fielder, good hands. He thinks he's athletic enough to play middle infield, but projects more at third base. Right-handed bat with a little bit of pop too. And then his brother Daniel Ebling, catcher kind of utility. He has a really smooth left-handed swing with a little bit of pop, which he thinks will get more as he grows. Really good bat to ball skills with a good swing decision and just works counts, tough out. And he's another really talented catcher. I actually did watch him catch a little bit at Scout Day. He says just a really athletic backstop with a good arm behind the plate. And he thinks he can kind of stick him anywhere, but really excels behind the plate. So they just have 2 shutdown, in my opinion, catchers where I don't think many people are going to be running against the 2028 Lynx Scout team.
Nope. I'll tell you another one I'm excited for on that group, just to add to it. Landon Johnson from South Carolina, big right-handed arm, upper eights kind of guy, pretty good breaking ball, big body, big frame, really good at Scout Day in January. I was really impressed with him. The ball jumps out of his hand. All right, we're going to switch gears. We're going to go to Coach Ryan Kelley. Coach Kelley has the 2027 scout team. Rye, what do you got? What do you got for us as far as schedule goes?
Schedules start just like everybody. They'll have the spring training down in Raleigh from the 24th to the 26th of May. Then I go back to back West Palm Beach to Atlanta shuffles, folks, which is a 9-hour drive with Uncle John up there. So
Most of
that's
the time anyway.
June 6th to the 10th, Palm Beach, drive up to Atlanta for the 13th through the 16th, then back to Palm Beach for the 21st through the 25th, then 26th, Atlanta through the 2nd. Then we got WWBA from the 6th to the 14th. And then what I think we're all most excited for, which is going to Baton Rouge, July 20th through the 25th. All right. A little bit about our team. We've got some new guys that played up with John a little bit last year that are coming down with us. Those two new guys that I want to talk about are Nolan Rowley and John Galley. Nolan Rowley from Minnesota, probably going to be our starting center fielder. He's an incredible athlete. I mean, I saw the kid catch a ball over second base last year when he was playing down with us, that he must have jumped, 2 feet off the ground to catch this ball, thought it was in the gap. He catches it at its highest point. Just an incredible athlete. I think he just had a pro day, ran like a 6'4", 6'5",
6'6", low 6'6".
Yeah, and pulled down 93. He's gonna be like, he's got athletic wise D1 all over him, is in my opinion. I mean, and I think there's room to grow there too. And it's funny, all the other things we're talking about, he might be one of the best hitters or the best hitter on our team, right? And something you'd mentioned down the line with the amount of tools that he does possess, which is incredible. And then John Galley from Connecticut, his brother is also joining our team. Just a solid, another guy. He's going to be probably in the upper 8s by the end of the summer, sitting there. I think he's another D1 arm, in addition to some other ones that we have on our team. And then as far as, we couldn't really, like Jordy said, it's hard to pick one guy as far as newcomers, but another shout out to Gary Mendoza down there in Southern California. Got us 3 guys, 2 middle infielders, Ali Carrillo, who is from Venezuela, and then Damian Cordero, who's from Southern California. Both middle infielders, both highly skilled, both going to help us at the plate and in the field at multiple positions. We went from needing an infielder to having a ton of infielders very fast at this level, which is a great thing. And then the last one, Brody Gomez, corner guy, with some pop, going to be a great addition to our team. You can't thank Gary enough though, right? I mean, it's not a shock to us that there's a lot of talented baseball players in Southern California, but to have them playing for us is another thing. So very excited to have all of those guys.
Yep. Rob, what do you got on some returning guys?
Returning guys. So the first one, and I know Dennis, I know you guys had talked about him a lot last week, but Michael Mendoza, our catcher, D1, high level, hits for power, commands the field while he's behind the plate. I mean, John, I think you can agree, probably in the same category where best guy on the field, most places.
Best guy on the field at all times. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. You're going to have 4 of those, by the way, this year.
Right.
Like,
big personality, great kid. Love him. Next one, Jade Montañez, middle infielder, from Connecticut. Had a great summer for us last year. Hit for one of the highest averages on our team. Can field multiple positions. Just a really, really great athlete that's, got such a bright future, and again adds to our embarrassment of riches when it comes to middle infielders currently. So that's very excited to have Jaden back. And then the last guy I'm going to talk about is Brody Leibel, kid I coached on the basketball team I coach over here. Brought him over, was sitting about 82, 83 last year. Two-seam guy, ton of movement, just a really, really good pitcher. Super projectable body, tall. Going to be a high level pitcher when he goes to the next level, but has, hit 88. I think almost 89 is what he hit at his last pro day, and he's sitting above 85. So, as a guy, when I met him, telling him, I hope by the time you're a senior, you can get up to the high eights, and he's a sophomore in the high eights. Like Jordy said, sometimes, it blows your mind, but, funny to see him and think he's more of like a low to mid 9 guy than just get to the high eights by the time he's, a sophomore. It's going to be crazy. But, yeah, those are some guys. Like I said, I mean, I could talk about 5 more guys, but it's going to be, like Jordy said, don't really care who we play. We're going to show up and be a group of some of the most talented people at every tournament that we go to. So excited for that for sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this from the coach of the top team in our organization. By top, I mean the oldest. My group was 18-5 last year. Really good squad. I think that 2027 team is going to be the best team in the organization, hands down. They have 4 number 1 bona fide starters. Ethan Whistler, Brody Leibel, Johnny Galley. Who's the other one I'm missing, Rye? Hawk Lacari. Hawk Lacari out in Arizona. 4
Cooper
true
Schlag.
number 1 starters. Cooper Schlager's another one, right?
Yeah,
that's 4 guys 85 plus.
Schlager needs deserves a shout out too. I mean, he's a guy, right? Every coach knows. It's like, we've got our starter, we got our guy in relief, and then you go 1 or 2 innings, and that game goes nowhere that you thought it was going to go, and it's, oh no, I need somebody to come in and clean up the mess. That kid did that for us 5 times last year. Comes in the first or second inning, will get us to the 5th or 6th inning and put our team in a position to win. He's another guy I'm very excited to have back.
Yeah, but just an embarrassment of riches on the mound, an embarrassment of riches in the field and at the plate. Like I said, you go 4 number 1s deep on the hill, and then you go 8 deep in the lineup with guys that can just really, really, really hit. You return the top 2 hitters on the team. You add Damian Cordero. You add Brody Gomez. Just look out, baseball world. Here they come. That 27 scout team is going to be something ferocious this summer, and I'm really excited to see those boys play.
Embarrassment of riches on coaching talent as well.
Oh, just ridiculous. Coach Kelly's he's the best, man.
Thanks, Dennis. Hey, Denny.
All right. Last but not least, we're going to go to the 26 scout team. Quick schedule. We go West Palm. We go to PBR. We go back to West Palm. We go back to PBR for the national championship, and then we're in Baton Rouge. It's a 5-tournament schedule. We're Coach Kelly and I believe, are together for the first 3 tournaments, and then he stays in Atlanta for about 2 weeks, which is his favorite place on earth. Just ask him. And then we're all back together in Baton Rouge together. The whole organization, well, the 4 scout teams are. So a couple players, returning guys. I think I'm going to start with our shortstop with Juju Guzman, team captain, Maryland commit. Just locks it down at short. I think with Juju, his biggest thing is just staying consistent at the plate. He's a switch hitter, hits for power from both sides, has the run tool, has the arm, has the glove. Just an incredible player, an incredible human being, comes from an incredible family. I am so excited to have Juju back and to see what he does, this year. I think the next, Jordan already talked about his brother Dane, Cole Miyashiro, our center fielder. He is, again, a switch hitter. He really transferred to the outfield full time for us in the summer last year. Plays a shutdown center field. He's my leadoff hitter. He's on base all the time. Great kid, really good student. Cole's one of those guys that really understands the game, understands what his role is in the game, and knows how to perform to that role. Stays within himself, doesn't try to do too much. Really excited for Cole to be back in center field. Next, I'm going to go to the mound. We lost Johnny Galley to Rise team. Johnny reclassed to 27. He was a super young 26, and now he's of age 27. So I'm going to go with Shane Jellivaneski from up in New York. Shane and Juju were actually high school teammates at Iona Prep. Shane is a 6'5" right-handed arm, kind of unorthodox motion, unorthodox slot, and the ball flies out of his hand. 88 to 91, plus changeup. Really good feel for a cutter now. Didn't have a big breaking ball last summer from what I remember. But developed a cutter in the off season. Just really excited about Shane this year. Was getting some looks last year for some pretty big time schools. I think that's going to continue with the development of his breaking ball. Really good student as well. There, Shane Jellivaneski. Next, I kind of want to give a shout out to a returner real quick, Lukey McTeague. Lukey's going to join us again this year. Lukey missed all of last year with Tommy John. One of those things, little too much throwing there in high school, in the high school off season, with his coaches up there at his school, and heard a pop. Had Tommy John in March. He's gonna get back on the mound for us this summer. A couple new guys, really excited about Max Prejda from Inspiration Academy. Max is from the Czech Republic, plays on the Czech national team. Outfielder, left-handed stick, just super toolsy. Really excited to see what he's going to bring to the table for us. And I think the last one is Maddox Chu from up in New Jersey. Maddox is going to be our backstop with Royal Matthews this year. Royal and Maddox will lock that down back there. Maddox, big, strong, powerful young man behind the plate. Really excited to see what he does and how well he meshes with our pitching staff. We go the 26 team. I think we go 9 pitchers deep, maybe 10. We got 13 position players, so we got a full squad, 23 guys. We're going to roll through the summer. I think my biggest thing this year, helping these guys, get committed and get to their destinations for college. That's what this organization is all about. Those are our scout teams, our Marucci scout teams. Boys, any thoughts in general?
No, just picking 3 kids on my team was hard. I do want to reiterate that. This is a deep team. This is a built team. When we competed in the fall, I think there were a few things we needed to add. Mason Morgan, Anthony Black, we went on and added them, and John, you're kind of dropping on me. We're still looking for a few names, which I'm cool with. I always need a few extra bodies.
Yep.
But at the same time, I'm very, very excited for the summer.
You get the spark plug back too. You get the spark plug back too, Brooks.
That's right. I do get Brooks back from injury. Another guy is taking at second base and kind of just leave him there. So
just leave him there. That's right. Yeah, Brooks Jacob from down in Houston, Texas. That kid is, really good baseball player, but came up lame with the elbow injury there in the last tournament, turning a double play. Lost him for the rest of that tournament, and that was a big blow. But the spark plug's coming back, so we're excited to have him.
Each team could have had their own hour.
Honestly, yeah.
Like
Eventually we will. So we're going to kind of segue. We talked about the schedules a little bit. And I think with having you guys on the pod today, something I wanted to talk about, just, we spend a lot of time together in general, not just on the podcast, but, outside on the ball field. And I get asked this question a lot from being an ex-pro and having traveled the world. Best places on the road to go. I want to talk to you guys about your favorite places to go, what you guys like to do there, things like that. Let's start with Denny. Let's start with you. What's your favorite? Where's your favorite place to go on the road during the summers?
my favorite place on earth, West Palm Beach.
This might be a lame part of the segment. I think we might all have the same answer.
I had never been.
I think we definitely have the same answer, all of us.
I had never been to. I was born in Florida, but I didn't spend a lot of time there. And then anytime I went back with family, I was in Miami or surrounding Miami. And 4 years ago, went to West Palm Beach. I actually crashed the last day of John and his wife's honeymoon. But they by their request, they wanted me to join them for dinner. And I was, I didn't know much about West Palm, but it has 3 of my favorite restaurants ever. Like even talking about it in Raleigh, North Carolina, it's 3 of my favorite restaurants. But
if
Dennis
names
story about
3 of
Rocco's,
these, we don't.
Do you want to tell the story about Rocco's, Denny?
Yeah, first night I'm there. I'm pretty tired. Drove 11 hours and crashing the last few days of the honeymoon. And John goes, take you to the best taco spot. And I looked at him and I said, with a couple bad words, I will not eat tacos in West Palm Beach. I'm in Florida. I can get tacos in North Carolina. I was very mad at him and he got offended. And he looks at me and says, bro, just trust me. I said, all right, that's fine. And I said, but you got to find me some Cuban food soon. He goes, all right, I got you. Rocco's Tacos, one of the best places on earth. Not a big guacamole fan, but I'll eat it there. It's that good. Everything
Free plug, Rocco's Tacos. It's the best place ever.
Pretty good. But Copacabana as well. I'll let Coach Kelley talk about that place.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, back to also West Palm Beach. Definitely my favorite place that we travel.
Not Atlanta?
No, not Atlanta, unfortunately. No, the other place Dennis is talking about is Copacabana, which is a Cuban restaurant that's right next to the Miami Marlins and Cardinals facility. Take really good care of us there. We usually do a team dinner down there every time we're down there. Place John used to go when he was down at spring training with the Marlins and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's definitely, I think that's a night I look forward to, right? Not just West Palm, but going to Copacabana with everybody is a great time down there for sure.
Jordy?
West Palm Beach. I just, I do say though, like I know we go to Florida and Georgia a lot, and I know it's because, like you said, John, that's where the best talent is. That's where the best tournaments are. Like there was something special about last summer with the academic team out east in New York and Boston and Maryland. Like I loved that summer. I thought Annapolis was beautiful. Boston was my first time out there. New York, it was my first time out in New York. So there was something very special about getting to coach that team for that summer, just because I got to see some cool places I hadn't been, and summer in Florida, it isn't as appealing as fall in Florida, and summer in Georgia is about as appealing as fall in Georgia.
Is worse.
So, I mean, again, excited for I'll be thrilled to be in West Palm Beach. But at the same time, there is something about those East Coast trips that I really, really did enjoy. Great food, great environments, and some really cool tournaments we got to play in as well.
Yeah. Well, obviously this is the clean sweep. As some of you may not know, first I have 75 nicknames that Ryan and Dennis just keep coming up with. And I'm sure you'll hear them along the duration of these podcasts when they start coming out. But Dennis has nicknamed me the mayor of West Palm Beach. I love that place. I love everything about it. I love the food. I love the people. The facilities, baseball wise, are top notch. The big league spring training facilities, our players get to go down there and get to, see what it's like to participate on those fields, to play games on those fields. Something that not everybody gets to do, right? Not everybody is going to get to play, or not everyone's going to get to sign a pro contract, much less play in the major leagues. So, I try to get my guys to understand always that it's a treat to go down there to play on those fields, to play in games and get to see what it's like to play at the highest level of baseball. The fields are beautiful. The facilities are beautiful. The rain kind of gets me every now and then, but you get a few too many cancellations down there with the rain. And when it comes in, with the major league clubs operating those facilities, it's hit or miss whether the games get continued the same day. So, you always got to make sure that you have a great restaurant lined up for some cold beverages and some really good food, good time with the boys. So West Palm is my place, but I'm going to tell you what, I am really looking forward to going to Baton Rouge. I've heard that place is just next level as well. So, super excited to get down to Baton Rouge in July, which is, I'm not too sure about the timing of that. Late July in Baton Rouge is, it just seems like it's going to be really hot. But, you give and you take. I'm sure there's some really good places to eat down there and places to get some adult beverages. So, looking forward to going out to Baton Rouge here in July also. Let's go quickly. Let's go to the baseball topic that I wanted to cover today. Big news coming out of Yankees camp. Garrett Cole going down with Tommy John. Going to have Tommy John, I believe, for the second time in his career. But just, the pandemic, right? The pandemic that is elbow injuries, that is Tommy John. I think that, I don't know what it is, and I'd like to get everybody's thoughts on it, but, what's going on, what's causing this? Jordan, you're a pitching coach in high school, and, for the NTIS, for USA, Rye, same thing. You guys are pitching guys, and, Dennis, you're a catcher. You're catching guys. So I kind of like to know what your guys' thoughts are on the Tommy John pandemic. Jordy, why don't you lead us off?
Yeah, I think it depends on what level you're talking about. Major league, I mean, there's always a rash of them at the start of spring training. That's just unfortunately how it goes. Depending on what your offseason looks like. I know guys, I mean, this is kind of a universal trend, but guys throwing more year round, starting earlier in the offseason, earlier and earlier every year. It's bound to happen at some point for a lot of guys, which is a sad fact of it, but especially the major league guys, the amount of stress you're putting on your body consistently, like there's always a rash of them to start spring training. I think it sucks that it's Cole, but I don't think he was any more or less susceptible than anybody else. I think it is what it is. Part of it is it's the game. Like, I know everyone wants to say, oh, just locate a well-placed 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Do you know how hard that is? Like, with major league hitters today, like, yeah, John, here, it's a prime example. Like, it is hard just to say, oh, throw 92 and spot it up perfectly. Like, everyone says, oh, well, Greg Maddux did. And Greg Maddux was a Hall of Famer. So don't use the Hall of Famer as your outlier case. Like, once everyone figured out that throwing hard and getting a lot of movement was the way to get very, very, very talented hitters out, you're not going back. I don't think there's a way to do that. To convince guys to stop throwing hard, like it's not going to happen. So
the problem
it's
not only you're throwing hard with a lot of movement to get talented hitters out. It's also a way to make a lot of money.
Yes, exactly. Like, you're going to make more money if you throw harder and can get guys out more effectively. Like that is what it is. But it
I think
becomes
Jordy,
preventative measures. And schools are starting to put it into place now at the high school level, at least. Like pitch counts. I know NCIS and USA Baseball put out their own pitch count recommendations. So I think we all have. I've used them for like. I mean, we go to these tournaments and no one has pitch counts really. Like some do, but they're all like fluid.
They're all wrong.
Yeah, they're all wrong essentially. So it's like I'll pull out the USA ones or I'll use the Illinois ones when I got my guys, especially at the age I coach, 29s. Just because, again, I'm a pitching coach. I don't want to abuse these kids and their talents. But I think it loses it at the college level. Like people are doing decent now at high school. Like it used to be the Wild Wild West. They're doing better. College is now the Wild Wild West of Paul Skeens can go and throw 125, 130 pitches, and he's a first round draft pick.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
probably shouldn't be doing that, but you know what? It's LSU, and we got to win the College World Series. Like
That's right.
it's. I think that's where maybe the biggest problem is that high school is doing a lot more in terms of regulation. Major League Baseball is the gold standard. They have 100 pitches, you're done nowadays. College is still that Wild Wild West.
Hey boys, I got
Jordy,
to drop.
what I think.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey,
again.
Ryan, hold on one sec. Denny, do you got anything real quick? Because I know you got to go.
No, I think I agree. I don't know. I've been kind of racking my brain about this for a long time. I think it's the race to 90 for a lot of kids, race to 95. I think that has something to do with it, but it's kind of a tough. I thought I knew, but I don't. And it's always the guys that take the best care of their bodies and stuff out of nowhere, they're gone and have TJ. So I hope it gets better. And I hope it's not as common and guys having 1 or 2 or 13 or 14-year-olds getting it. But, we can only do our part and help.
All right, Denny, you out? You dropping?
Yeah, I got to drop, but let's do another one soon.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach
Bye,
Dennis
Denny.
Delgado.
See y'all.
Take care, buddy. See you. All right, Ryan, what do you got?
No.
Tommy John.
You know what? I was going to say kind of the similar thing. Jordy makes the point. He's like, do you evaluate it as, like, how do you evaluate a major leaguer having that happen twice, right? Like, and I think what will start to happen is you're going to see, Garrett Cole's, not that Skeens had it, but like guys, power pitchers, right? Guys who throw gas, guys who are major leaguers. And I think there's going to be an effort to like look back at things they did, routines they had, right? To try to pinpoint where, like, what is the commonality between these guys that are throwing at this velocity and how can we tie it back to something that they all did that might have caused this, right? Like, I don't know. And it might be different, right? Is it like, you didn't work your arm out enough and you pushed it too much. You worked your arm too much and then you pushed it. Like, I don't think, like Dennis said, I don't know if any of us really have the answer, but it does a guy like Garrett Cole that's that high paid, that's that sought after as a pitcher, right? In Major League Baseball. Like, is there a way to go back and be like, this throwing program, this starting throwing in this month, right? Is there some way to pinpoint what is causing that? And I don't know if there is an answer for that, right? And I don't know if right, because we are just into a time where, like Dennis said and like Jordy said, like there's this chase for velocity, right? So like our sample size of guys that throw that hard, that are that high paid, that have these injuries, like I think it's going to take a little bit of time, where some of these careers where it's like, man, he was a good pitcher, but he had Tommy Johns twice, right? Where they're going to be able to look back and be like, well, these two guys with these careers did this and had that injury twice, and maybe be able to better diagnose what we should stop doing for some of these guys. But also, like Jordy said, and like Denny said too, is right, you can only do what you can do, right? Because you're only going to have your guys in your individual setting, right? So like, I guess the big point is take care of your guys and take care of their arms, because right? Like even the best guys with the best care, this shit happens to them. So
Jordan, I wanted to ask you, for everyone that doesn't know, Jordan actually runs a very, very successful Chicago White Sox blog and podcast, Sox on 35th. Free plug for you, bud.
Hey, thanks.
You know, I read something the other day, and I want to get your thoughts. Well, number one, see if it's true. You know, the internet never lies, but sometimes it does. So, how many White Sox guys in spring training have gotten hurt thus far?
I think they're up to 4 that need Tommy John. All
4
young
guys in spring training. They're good,
From
but
spring
I mean, what are we talking? We talking A ball? We talking double A?
Yeah, A-ball, double-A guys. I don't think there's anyone who, maybe one guy, Kai Bush, who might have been a major league contributor, but younger A-ball, double-A guys.
But 4
Yes.
arms
Mm-hmm.
that have to have Tommy John, and we're not even halfway through spring training.
Right.
It's not even March 15th yet. We're not halfway through spring training, and we have 4 guys that have to have Tommy John from one club. I mean, I want to talk about that a little bit. You know, I played for the White Sox for a couple years. Almost made it to the big leagues. I was on the doorstep. You know, is Zaleski catching any heat for that? Is the pitching, the coordinators and the coaches catching any heat for it? I mean, what's going on?
I don't think so. I have. It's hard when you trying to assign blame for stuff like this. It really is because,
Sure. Yeah, but the owners can blame whoever they want.
Yeah, true.
They're the ones spending the money.
So I don't think currently they're catching much heat, but also, it's a good question. At what point are you like, this is too much? I think for me, in my head, I always, for right or for wrong, I seem to always be able to rationalize there are going to be ones in spring training. Guys are going to get hurt in spring training. It happens every year. This is how it's become now. If you can make it through the rest of the season and those are your only 4, I know 4, only 4. You get what I'm saying, though. If those are your 4, okay, now that looks a little bit better. If we get to September and they're on 10, it's like, all right, what is going on here? That this is clearly not working. Like your program is clearly not working, or you're targeting guys that maybe have too much stress on their arms, things like that. Because some guys have been in the program or the organization for maybe a year, so you're not totally directly responsible for everybody that comes through. I think that's actually been the common thread, is that none of these guys, to my knowledge, were drafted solely by the White Sox. So it's kind of hard. You're also paying the tax for what another organization might have put, the mileage they might have put on them too. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there.
Sure. And the guy that I was talking about, Zaleski, Matt Zaleski, is actually a former teammate of mine. We played together for 3 years, 2.5 years with the White Sox while I was there. He's now the pitching coordinator for the minor leagues. So that's kind of why I was wondering if, anybody got any heat. He would be the guy. Obviously, he's probably where it starts as it trickles down. But I know Matt's, this is what, second year in that position? Jordan, is that right?
Second or third, yes.
Yeah. So it hasn't been long. Yeah, he's been around for a while. Well, as soon as he retired, I know he got a job immediately as a coach with the White Sox. So, worked his way all the way up to coordinator. I just wondered if he was the one catching a heat for these guys going down so early in spring training. I think my biggest thing with Tommy John, and as a pitching coach, and I do a lot of private stuff, a lot of private lessons, and I work at a facility, as does Ryan. Do a lot of pitching stuff. I really think that with all the technology nowadays, you have TrackMan, you have Rapsodo, you have the pitch logic stuff. It just seems like that the coaches chase the outlier, right? They're not chasing to make the normal slightly better. They're chasing the misread or the outlier to try to get every pitch to do that. And what I mean by that is, like, I'll give you a perfect example. And Ryan, you'll appreciate this. But, Johnny Galley came to throw a bullpen with me probably a month ago. And, he was throwing at probably 75, 80% of his max effort. And we're throwing, and I've got him on the Rapsodo. and he threw a slider with like, -7 vert and -18 horizontal. And I was like, wow, okay. The rest of his sliders were like -1, -8. So I'm like, okay, how did we go from -1, -8 to -8, -15 or -18? Like, how did we get there? I think it's a misread. I think the machine misread what was happening. And I think the problem is some coaches take that misread and say, hey, you know what? You can do it. You can throw a pitch that is that good. Let's try to do that. And they're chasing and they're chasing and they're chasing something that's just not obtainable for that player. Right? Yeah. And that's how you get guys hurt. It's more torque. It's unnecessary torque. You're trying to get a player's body to do something that he's not capable of doing. Right? Instead of taking a Johnny Galley and saying, you know what? You're -1, -5. Let's go -2, -6 and chase an inch here or there instead of chasing feet. That's more obtainable for a player, right? But when you're trying to chase, a foot more of horizontal break, I mean, that's where guys are going to get hurt. And I think that that's where coaches they just don't get it.
Well, it's being able to mix, and I feel I've done a decent job of this, being able to mix the numbers with what you see. Like, if a guy's throwing more over the top, getting -18 horizontal, that's a misread. You're not getting that much movement horizontally from up here. From here, when you drop the arm slide, that's plausible. But if a guy's throwing from a high 3/4 arm slot and all of a sudden it reads that, I probably spiked it and the machine read it wrong. Like that is what it is. Like, you have to understand what those numbers mean in the context of what a player's physically able to do. Like, you don't teach every kid the same grip or the same pitch because they can't all do the same thing. It's taking the number side of it and orienting it to what that player is physically capable of. And I think that's probably where it gets missed. I do agree with that.
Yeah. Ryan, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think that comes back to designing pitches and stuff specifically based off of certain guys' arm slots, right? Like, you're not gonna, you never seen a team full of guys that are all 3/4 arm slots that have the same mechanics, right? Like, not all pitchers, right? Like, I remember being in spring training, in college down there, and we were down there with a Korean team, and every guy threw completely different. Everything was different, right? And they all threw from different arm slots, but it's about where you get to and how the pitches that you're throwing from that arm slot are moving, right? And then, adapting off of that, right? And that's what Jordy was kind of saying, right? Is we're not going to take a guy who's straight over the top and force him to be a 3/4 guy, right? It's not conducive to how he naturally moves, right? Like you were saying, John, right? Don't make guys go off of how they already move a little bit more than, like, if we could make everybody into Randy Johnson, I'm sure we would, but we're not. That's not realistic. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, it's a lot more in the forefront now, the arm injuries, the Tommy Johns, things like that. I think that, we as coaches just have to, do our best with our players and try to monitor and, give them rest when they need it. Right. I just think that it's a huge issue right now. And I think that, every coach needs to kind of look in the mirror and say, you know what can I do to help?
Yeah, there's plenty of resources. There's USA cuts out there. I'm sure I guarantee whatever state you coach in has their own set of rules. Like, they're all pretty similar. Like,
I'm pretty sure Major League Baseball sponsors USA Baseball, right?
Yeah, PitchSmart or whatever it is. Like,
PitchSmart, right? Yeah.
I follow those usually when I'm playing in these tournaments because, you can throw 100 pitches over 3 days. What does that mean? I can throw 75 day 1 and then 25 day 2. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's not an action. It's within the rules, but that's not plausible. Correct. So
I think part of that is people are trying to win. Coaches are trying to win games.
Right.
Right. Like, let's not go and let's not try to win games at the cost of a kid's health, right? So, all right, boys. Well, that's an hour. We've been going. Great show today. I appreciate both you guys jumping on. I know it's early in the morning for you, Ryan. You look like you haven't had enough coffee yet.
I'm good.
And
I'm good.
I think the next time I'm going to see you guys in person is West Palm Beach, but we'll do another podcast here soon. Get you guys on and keep going. Like, listen, subscribe. We will see everybody next time.